All right, away we go here, guys. It is now a Tuesday. It is December the 10th, 2019. It is another edition of the Happy Hour Tip-Off Show powered by WagerTalk.com. I'm Joe Raineri. He is Ralph Michaels. College basketball is what is on our mind here, Ralph. And we talked a little bit yesterday. A very light card, only 3 games of interest really on the card there last night. A lot more here tonight, over 20. Some very interesting ones that we will get to. But we usually like to start the shows off here talking about some of the games the night before. And we put together actually a little list here of some of the biggest upsets thus far. I think it's a good time now to kind of do maybe a little bit of a review of what we've seen. And there have been some big upsets so far this year, Ralph.
Yeah, you'll see on the top, there's been 41 year-to-date upsets by dogs of 10 points or more. You know, I listed the top 7: FS Austin, Duke, Charleston Southern against Missouri, Evansville, Kentucky, we all know about. Coppin, Loyola Chicago's flied under the radar. Winthrop, St. Mary's maybe hasn't gotten the press. You know, the one thing to take note, that San Jose State team that beat Hofstra as an 18-point dog, the same San Jose State team we talked about yesterday that was a 27-point dog against San Diego State and ended up losing by 2. And the final team, for those that don't know, that's the Merrimack Warriors knocking off Northwestern as an 18-point dog.
Don't sleep on the Merrimack Warriors, all right? Do not, Ralph. You heard it here first. Also, some of the largest, of course, year-to-date, just the spreads and total covers, too, as well. And those are some pretty big numbers there, Ralph. 47, 45.5, 42. Oklahoma State, of course, I think surprising some people, 78-37 with that game against Ole Miss. So, and yet Oklahoma State just ended up getting a little bit surprised this week themselves. But some big numbers there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, when you look at the overs, they're even bigger. All 3 of those games, though, were in overtime.
Yes.
So they are padded. I will tell you that the largest over cover not in overtime was a 40-some point cover, and that was Michigan, Iowa just last week. That game was, 190 points without OT. And then unders, I mean, you look at totals of 140s and you have unders 53 points under the total, Cleveland State, Wilmington. The same Duquesne team that we saw last night roll up a big score, scored 58-1. So you like those teams that can win both ways.
Yeah, and
win a high-scoring game and win a low-scoring game. You have to keep your eye on those.
And I'm shocked, Ralph, because there's Virginia not on that list under anything. No, that's right. I'm sorry. They just score 38 points a game, and so do the teams that they play. It's just absolutely crazy. It'll be interesting to see what happens, too, and we talked about this a little bit yesterday. It's going to be interesting to see what happens to this Virginia team as well as North Carolina, 2 teams, especially North Carolina, teams that we're used to seeing scorers on, guys that can absolutely take over games. They just don't have it, and Virginia is still trying to figure out who and what they are, and a lot of teams this time of year. Who are they? What do they stand for? We know what Ohio State is. We're going to talk about Maryland coming up, I'm sure. We know what some of these teams at the top are right now, but some of the blue bloods, we're still trying to figure it out, Ralph.
Well, I think Virginia, I have no problems with Virginia. I think they're a top 10 team. You know, their loss to Purdue was a bad loss, but that was without Braxton Key. He missed the North Carolina game as well. So no problems with Virginia. North Carolina is the team that jumps out at me as they just don't have enough go-to scorers. You know, Cole Anthony has to dish the ball, and they just, you know, Ohio State shut him down. Virginia shut him down. Michigan shut him down. Well, what's the common theme? 3 teams that play defense. So, you know, we're gonna see them struggle coming up here. And, you know, right now, you know, are they a top 25 team? I don't think they are.
Right.
So we'll see if one of their young kids come out of it. You know, they're still going to win. You know, they're still going to win. They may not even get to 20 games, Joe, in the regular season, the way I'm looking at their schedule, because they have Gonzaga and they have UCLA coming up. And then, you know, you got teams like Georgia Tech and Pittsburgh that can play some defense. So I think we're going to see a lot of low-scoring games for them in the future.
Yeah, could very well be. And some great games on the card here tonight, guys, that we'll get to. We'll take a look, of course, at some of the Excellent performances last night, although abbreviated. I mean, you talked about Duquesne there going against Columbia. We knew Columbia, Mike Smith is the only option they have there to be able to score anything on that team. Wasn't going to happen. We had a feeling this had blowout written all over it there, Ralph, and sure enough, when you have Dunn Martin in there and you have Austin and Weather, you've got some guys that can put up some points here and not very big minutes either.
Make that list, but the thing, we mentioned Daniel Arturo on yesterday's the big guy from Minnesota.
Yep.
22, 12, and 5 blocks. Well, Iowa not only has Weiskamp, but also has Garza, and Garza would have been the next guy on the list. So, this Iowa team, boy, they can score as much as anyone in the country. They got 3 scorers that can put it up, so they're an exciting team to watch. And like you mentioned, Joe, before we got on, they hit those early threes, got a big lead, and then Minnesota just didn't have any type of offense to catch up. So again, you take yesterday's top performances with a grain of salt with only a handful of guys there. So Nothing jumps out as just a super wow card that, that I guess if you look at Tavian Dunn-Martin, the 25 points jumps out because it was in 24 minutes.
Right. Right. And Minnesota shot just 6 of 25 from 3. They had 15 turnovers. It wasn't good. But I will say this, Ralph, and we touched on it a little bit yesterday. This Minnesota team, I think they entered the week with the 5th toughest schedule thus far in the country. And so it's not like they're dodging anybody. You had mentioned some of the teams that they had played and some of the games they had lost. They're not losing to, they're certainly not losing to Merrimack. They are, they're going up against the big weights. Their next game, by the way, unfortunately, is against Ohio State. So I want to say it gets easier for Minnesota, Ralph, but it does not.
Yeah, that's not a fun home opener to have for your Big Ten home opener on Sunday. That means Sunday usually means it's the CBS game. I don't know if they're starting it with the NFL. I don't think they are, but obviously the Big Ten will probably be showing it. But yeah, to have the team playing as well as any team in the country be your home opener after you lost at Iowa by 20.
Yep.
Rick Pitino's eating some Tums.
You damn straight he is. And you mentioned Weiskamp, of course. Him and Garza, that inside-out duo, Ralph. That's I am pretty sure some coaches in the Big Ten are taking notice of what goes on if they start heating up there. That's a pretty lethal combination. And there are going to be some fun games here on the card tonight, Ralph, as we'll take a look at the market here in just a minute. But we do like to talk a little bit about some of the TNA, some of the trends and angles possible that are current and that apply to some of these games here tonight, Ralph. Were there any angles, any trends that you came up with today?
Yeah, again, the trends and angles aren't games that I'm telling you to play. We're just trying to learn about teams and the situations they're in. Arkansas Little Rock, in their last 17 games, they've gone 3-14 over under. So that's the way I would be looking at that team. Brown, 3-16 over under on the road, their last 19 games. And then if you look at Central Florida and you see a total of 158, you have to double take. What the hell is a UCF game? Yeah. Those totals were 109 last year with Taco Falls. So to see a total in the 158, well, that's because Wisconsin Green Bay is one of the top 5 highest tempo teams and has gone over 7 straight times. So obviously that tempo was very inflated. How about this one? Colorado's facing Northern Iowa tonight, Joe. Colorado has gone 9-0 ATS at home, as long as they've won at least 67% of their last 6 games. So you're on, you've gone at least 4-2 in that stretch. When they're in that position, they've covered 9 straight.
Yep.
Northern Iowa, on the flip side, has failed to cover 14 straight December games. Is that because they're working on it? Is that because Northern Iowa knows the way they can get to the dance is to win the Missouri Valley, and that's it? Non-conference games don't mean anything to some of these teams, and that's why you have teams that have very bad December records.
Right.
Their goal is to win. Them pulling an upset now doesn't help them at all. If they win the Missouri Valley, they're going to the big dance. If they don't win the Missouri Valley, they're not going to the big dance. So they've lost 14 straight December games against the spread, and they've gone 2-19 their last 21 against D1 foes in December.
Couple of games here, Ralph, and I do that Colorado game interests me, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But Couple of games here that the market moves, and if you're just joining us here, we like to talk about some of the heavily bet games, some of the games that are getting a lot of action, a lot of handle their way, some of the biggest line movements, whether it be the spread or the total, and a game outside of the couple of marquees we got coming up. Talk to me about St. Joe's and Temple, Ralph, because a lot of people seem to be very interested in this game here. 7 o'clock tonight. Temple, so far so good this year. St. Joe's started off real well. Coaching change there, though. We weren't quite sure what we were going to get for them. But I can tell you there's a lot of people betting on St. Joe's here tonight. Opened up as a big spread, too. 15 for Temple. It's been bet down to 10 in some places, Ralph. The total kind of hanging right around that 146 mark, but wow, I did not expect that much love for St. Joe's in this game here tonight, Ralph.
Well, anytime the big five play each other, it gets a lot of action. It's such a good localized, local city rivalries that you get there. Temple, they come in 6-2, losses only to Maryland and Missouri. And St. Joe's, they're going through growing pains, Phil Martelli being gone, Billy Lang, the new coach. You beat Bradley in Connecticut, you're 2-1. Then what's happened? You lost your last 7 games. Now they've played a very difficult schedule. My numbers actually lean Temple, but I can't play Temple against a rival like this because St. Joe's, the two best teams St. Joe's has played, they only lost to Florida by 8, and they only lost to Villanova by 12. They covered both of those. So despite being 2-8 with 7 straight losses, they've thrown some decent games in the mix. So, a game I'll be interested to see which direction St. Joe's goes.
Yep, it'll be very interesting to watch. Another game also seeming to get an awful lot of love here, Ralph. You don't have to look any further then. How about the number 1 team in the country? How about Louisville here tonight taking on Texas Tech? Another game getting an awful lot of love. And, Texas Tech actually getting bigger money love than tickets, Ralph. All the tickets, all the bets seem to be going to Louisville, but a lot of money seems to be going towards Texas Tech in this game. Opened up Louisville -7, down to 6 now I'm seeing across the board. Opened up also at 129, Ralph. I'm seeing that down to 125. Obviously, two teams that can play defense. Texas Tech still trying to figure out, kind of put the pieces together there, but wow, what a powerhouse game this is going to be.
Yeah, obviously a game that's on ESPN in Madison Square Garden, so you're going to get the love. Same with Indiana, Connecticut, and, Butler, Baylor on ESPN too. So, when you have those prime matchups and they're on TV, they're certainly going to get the attention of the tickets.
Yeah, and Texas Tech definitely looking a little bit more offensive this year than defensive like they were last year. And then, of course, finally, Ralph, there's kind of a how about this one, too, is another interesting game getting an awful lot of love. How about Nevada and BYU? We've talked about this BYU team a few times this year. And Nevada, of course, we keep expecting great things, or at least certainly backers of Nevada keep expecting great things from this program. It's getting an awful lot. 7.5 it opened up for BYU, and the tickets and the money, well, they keep pouring in on Nevada here, Ralph. There seems to be an awful lot of support for Nevada in this game, pushing the line a little bit. What do you think of this game, BYU and Nevada tonight?
I think Nevada, like Texas Tech, is a team people remember from last year that, was so good, was a team people thought would get to the Elite Eight. But, it's a team with a new coach and 5 new starters.
Yeah, and it's going to be a very interesting it's going to be a good night. You mentioned Indiana, Connecticut getting a lot of love. You're also talking Wisconsin, Green Bay, Central Florida. You talked about the trends there. Kansas also, Ralph. A story came out today that, Bill Self might take over, who knows, the possible Nick job he'd be interested in. How much do you think that weighs on kids when the rumors of their coach and NCAA sanctions coming down on Kansas and all of this? Do you think it even bothers them at all during the season?
Well, I think there's noise, obviously, but I would think he's pretty honest with these kids. If you hear stories, either he shoots down the rumors or he doesn't. If he shoots down the rumors, the kids know he shot him down. If he doesn't shoot him down, then the kids, keep thinking about it. But, a guy going to college to the pros is pretty unprecedented talking about it midseason. So,
Right.
There's no answer we can say what's going to happen because, it's never happened. Now, I don't think he would leave them midseason. If he does that, that's a whole different scenario. But, again,
that would be interesting.
It's speculation. Do we hear about it? Yeah. If the Knicks say, "Hey, we want John for the rest of this year," and he's got to make that determination, then we'll worry about that when it happens.
Yep, and you've got, of course, we like to take a look at some of the dogs here that are on the card, Ralph, see if anything jumps out off of you here. And is there any sort of dog here, whether it even be these marquee matchups, any game that you circled and looked at?
Yeah, I do like. I think Butler can go in and win this game. I have the teams even. Butler's already gone to Mississippi, played Missouri on a semi-neutral court. They come in undefeated. They control the temple. It's always tough going and playing Baylor because of the unique zone he plays. But this is an interesting game for Scott Drew, the head coach of Baylor. He went to Butler. He graduated from Butler. So, playing the school that you played at is an interesting scenario. And you look at what Butler's played, the next best defense they faced was Washington back on a neutral court, and they lost that. So I think Butler's very capable of pulling the upset here. And I also put a free play out at Wager Talk, Joe, on the under in this game.
Ooh.
Butler a 348 as far as offensive tempo goes. Baylor plays that zone, which teams start off slow. So the total's 131. Some might think it's a little low, but I still like the under.
Yeah, I kind of with you in that game as well. I think that's going to be it's kind of a toss-up type of situation, going to be a hell of a game. Also, Ralph, I mean, we've started conference play. We know this. We watched last night with the Big Ten, in action there with Minnesota and Iowa getting going, and it's a tough sled ahead. But sometimes this time of year when we start getting those conference games, we get some situational spots. We maybe get some revenge spots. We always like to point those things out, too, if there are any that stand out on the card, any sort of situational revenge games that you're looking at here. You mentioned, of course, the rivalry aspect of it there with St. John's and Temple going at it here tonight. Anything else on the card stand out to you?
Yeah, quit jumping ahead, Joe.
Sorry, was I supposed to go to what was I supposed to go? It's situational here. Where did I miss?
How about you giving out an
I know, I agree with you. Butler to me is everything else is a double-digit favorite because it's like
no problem.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm with you. You said it. I'm not double-dipping on you, but Butler was really the one game I think on tonight's card outside of. And we'll get to it, the two marquee matchups of Texas Tech and Louisville, also Maryland, Penn State there. Maybe there might be an opportunity there, but I think Butler's the clear opportunity here for certainly for a money line dog. But is there any revenge? Is there any sort of situationals here on the card tonight, Ralph, that stuck out to you?
We talked about this angle in Northern Iowa losing on the road, and I'm not using Colorado just because of that situation, but you're getting a very good Colorado team. I have this team approaching a top 20 team. They're that good. Wins against Arizona State already and wins against Clemson and Irvine. But you're coming off a loss against Kansas. Now you're returning back at home. You don't play again until Friday. Mm-hmm. Northern Iowa has only played one true road game, and that was back on November the 9th against Northern Illinois. So, you're playing home, neutral, home, and away. I do think that Northern Iowa likes to play slow. Northern Iowa's offense is not good. Colorado not only plays offense, but they play damn good defense and press the pace, which slow teams don't like doing. Right. I think the team at home controls the pace. Colorado was pretty close to being a late phone play of mine. I didn't leave it off, but certainly as a situational play, they fit.
Yeah, Kyle, it's interesting too. If I'm not mistaken, I think the line. Let me just double check here because I did see some heavy movement coming in on this one here. Yet Northern Iowa getting a lot of love in this game, Ralph. So it opened up at 10. It's already been bet down to 8 in a number of places, guys. 77% of the bets, 95% of the money right now coming in on Northern Iowa here. They are one of those peskier mid-majors, right? You kind of want to swat them away, but I don't think. Listen, you're right. Tempo is going to be a big issue in this game, but I don't think Colorado's got anything to worry about. Beating them by double digits, I don't anticipate should be an issue. Do you?
I don't, and yeah. I don't mind. I don't mind being against. I don't mind being against the opinions on this because, like I said, it's tough for Northern Iowa to go up and for a team that plays slow to start getting some tempo and some elevation. I think you'll see them wear down in the second half.
Yep, should be interesting game there tonight, Ralph. And, of course, two marquee matchups that we've talked about here that we thought going to be really out of the park. And, again, you don't have to look much further. The Jimmy V Classic happening at Madison Square Garden, which is great. It's a great event every year. It's a great tournament. And you've got the number 1 team, Louisville, getting ready to take center stage, taking on what was the number 2 team last year outside of Virginia was Texas Tech. Chris Beard and company kind of reloading, getting back at it. Not the same defensive team that they were last year, Texas Tech, doing it with just stifling defense, much like Virginia. They're going to rely a little bit more offense this year, it appears, or at least they're going to try to. 7 points here for Louisville as the number 1 team in the country. Should they be worried about Texas Tech?
Well, I am going to double dip on this, Joe, and this is also going to be my best bet. And I will tell our viewers that this was an actual play that my All Access customers got. I do have a 5% up at Wager Talk, my second college basketball 5% play of the year. And I have a second play. That second play is Louisville. I do like them in the spot. We've talked about Texas Tech before. Over the last 5 years, they've always had 2 seniors on the team. They have no senior starters this year. Over the last 5 years, they've always had 2 they had no freshman starters. This year they have 2. Oh yeah, and by the way, your best player, Jameis Ramsey, has missed the last 2 games, and he's questionable to doubtful to play tonight. Even if he does play, I don't think it's a great situation. You have a Texas Tech squad who has 5 wins. All 5 of those wins came against opponents that were rated 225 or higher. They haven't beaten anyone. All 3 losses against teams that were 61 or lower. Louisville, the number 1 or 2 team in the country, playing as well as anyone. I think this is a short number, in fact, and I am happy to back the Cardinals in this game. And it's, it's a situation where Louisville's 9-0. You have a top 5 offense. You have a top 5 defense. And to me, the line is out of whack.
Yeah, I happen to agree with you there. I think another game here, Ralph, that people are going to take a look at, a team that, giving you credit here. You called it from the first time we started doing this show. I bet them early in the future because I love the number to be the Big Ten champion there. Maryland taking on Penn State. And what is there not to like about this Maryland team, honestly? Nobody really – and for such a great conference like the Big Ten, I don't want to say they're going under the radar, but they're not exactly at the top of everybody's mind when you talk about Big Ten basketball.
Yeah, they're top 10 as far as Ken Palm's concerned. You're 10-0.
Yep.
And I'll tell you what, here's the negative. Here's why they didn't make my card. Because Penn State is a hell of a tough place to play in, and this is their first true road game.
Yep.
But with that said, my line was Maryland 6. I'm looking at a Maryland team that was way back behind Illinois. They trailed Illinois by double digits. They had a fight back in the second half, and they had their first lead, I think, with 2.9 seconds. They hit a free throw, and they win 59-58. Well, Mark Turgeon just lays into the team and says, listen, you guys are better than this. This is BS. How can you be that asleep? I love teams coming off that situation where they had to fight and survive. They also have revenge from last year. They went into Penn State and got drilled by double digits. So like I said, I was close to pulling the trigger on Maryland too. I just did not because Penn State's a weird place, and you fly into State College, and you play in an arena that's different than some of the Big Ten places, and funky things happen, and Penn State's also off, their most embarrassing loss when they just went to Ohio State. So clearly lean Maryland, was close to using Maryland, didn't pull the trigger as far as being a play on Maryland.
Anthony Cowan Jr. Having a great year as usual, leading the way in scoring. But I do think they had a little bit of a scare there, a little bit of a wake-up call against Illinois there over the weekend. I think they escaped 59-58. They've blown out Marquette. They've blown out Notre Dame. You're right. There's really nothing. There's nothing not to like about this team, and maybe that wake-up call against Illinois was exactly what they needed there. As far as Penn State goes, all over the place. Wins over Syracuse, Wake Forest, but you lose to Ole Miss, and then Ohio State that you mentioned. 4-1 against the number. Maryland is in their last 5 following a spread loss, which is what they were against the Illinois. To me, I think Maryland, this is an easy win for them. But like you said, you never know. First true road game kind of aspect here. Anything can happen, but it's going to be one hell of a game. Love that. Louisville, Texas, Maryland, Penn State. We talked Baylor here and Butler a little bit here, Ralph, and you gave us your best bet. You really do. You like Louisville in this spot here tonight.
Well, I can't like it any more than betting it and giving it to my customers as a play. So there's a lot of times we have best bets and they're not a play I give to my customers. So this is one that I am standing by and standing by strong.
Love that. And one of the games I looked at a little bit off the card here, a total in tonight. You had mentioned them there in the trends and angles, but how about this UCF team taking on a Wisconsin Green Bay team that, let's face it, the Phoenix. They don't play any defense here, guys. UCF continue to win games. They rolled Montana. I think Phoenix has lost. Green Bay, Wisconsin has lost what now? Xavier and East Illinois. They don't play any damn defense here, Ralph. They do have the capability of chucking it up there and making some threes. So the interesting part is they can punch back, but they're giving up ridiculous amounts of points here in the country. UCF ranks 80th in offensive efficiency in the country. It's up there at 157 and a half. I could see this game easily being in the 160s, 170s. I don't think UCF, you can't be playing defense like what they're playing here, the Wisconsin Green Bay team, and expect to beat UCF at UCF. I think they roll them, but I do think there's going to be some points scored in this game tonight, Ralph.
So, Joe, you're telling me that if your defense, your effective field goal percentage is .348 in the country, that's not good?
No, it's absolutely not good. I think they're going to get – what are they doing now? UCF's averaging about 78 points a game, and you're looking at an opponent here that gives up at least 84 or more a game, at least in 6 of the last 7. Yeah, I'll take the over in this game. Give me 160 or better in this game. I think I'm good to go there.
Awesome.
Love it. And, of course, guys, don't forget Ralph's 5% play up right now at wagertalk.com. It's his second of the year, guys. These don't come around very often. So if Ralph's putting it up there at a 5% mark, there's a reason for it. So you may want to head over there right now, wagertalk.com. Grab the 5% play. Of course, packages available 3 days, 7 days. Never miss a play. Grab a 30-day package here. Make sure you never miss any of Ralph's college basketball picks daily here. And then, of course, make sure you come back and join us here each and every Monday through Friday for the Happy Hour Tip-Off Show. We'll get you caught up with everything that happened the night before in college hoops and get you ready for everything that's going to happen tonight. So going to be a start of a good week here, Ralph, tonight in college basketball.
Joe, great show. I'll talk to you in 23 hours, bud.
23 hours it is. Yeah, look at that. I did the math there. It's awesome. Go get them, guys. Good luck with your plays tonight. Get to wagertalk.com. Get Ralph's 5% play tonight, and good luck. We'll talk to you tomorrow.